Many people believe that God never makes a mistake. But as the F team, we will be debating that why we believe that this is wrong. Our model world is that God will make mistakes in religious scriptures, but we will still make him to mostly be good and only make very small mistakes. Firstly, churches have been shaming sinners because they are not perfect or made a mistake. But if God makes mistakes, sinner will feel that the sinners will feel that, oh, God makes mistakes. If I made mistakes, then I can still go on with my life. And I wouldn't go to like like hell. Um, and the sinners would have massive amounts of shame lifted on their shoulders. Secondly, the church will also focus on growth and redemption more than making sinners feel bad. This will soon welcome all kinds of people to all join hands in this religion and making people more making people feel better and yeah. Uh when the church focuses on redemption, that means that the that means the church will redeem, like, oh, if something does bad, they'll be like, uh, um oh, God has made mistakes, you can still do good, and it will influence the sinners to become good people again. And with these points, I am proud to affirm.
Mistakes. Sometimes it depends on lives. This house would rather live in a world where God sometimes does wrong things than in a world where God is always right. I strongly stand and support the opposition side of this motion. Firstly, God is omnipotent. If God were not to make any mistakes, the world would be perfect. There would be no people who face divine punishments unjustly. There would be no unnecessary suffering, such as children getting cancer or natural diseases like catastrophes. Since God has the ability to affect all of that, and God is benevolent. Secondly, if people were to know about God, that would make his power even stronger. There would be more believers, and people would be more moral since they would know that God punished them if they did something wrong. People would not doubt morality and etc. There will be no unnecessary evil, i.e., there would be no natural evil such as natural disasters or people born with diseases. This is most man made. This is not man made. So God can stop this. God, who makes no mistakes and who is benevolent, would not allow it. To conclude, I've talked about how if God makes mistakes, it can stop natural diseases and kids getting cancer. Thank you, and I'm really proud to oppose.
At the end of the day, everyone makes mistakes. Even God should make mistakes. This would make him more human-like, less intimidating and frightening. These qualities are not what a good leader needs. Kindness and generosity are key to leadership. Before I begin, I would like to point out some flaws in the opposition's case. The first negative said that the world would be perfect if God made no mistakes. But this is not true, because God's view of perfect may be different from what they are. Besides, furthermore, if God did not make a mistake, then things would be what people would call normal, not perfect, because it's called natural. God is a natural person, and that means that he follows whatever. That means that he will also cause natural disasters and things like that, because that is part of the running of our world. The opposition also said that if God was perfect, people could be more moral and would do less bad things. But this is not true because first, some people may just not believe in the idea of God. They do not believe that there is someone out there controlling the world. Secondly, people will think if God is so perfect and everything he allows and he does is correct and just, then if I steal something from the grocery store, that is right. Then people will steal even more. Now on to my point. My point is that it makes that it makes him seem more human-like and less intimidating. This is true because which means that there's better forms of religion and there's a stronger connection with God, which means in better spirits. And an example of this in other religions is about the Buddha. In part of his existence, he also made mistakes. He struggled to find contentment and happiness. This caused him to learn from his mistakes and fix what he had done. This is what God should be. This should be what God should be doing. So, for the above reasons, I'm proud to affirm.
Claim that God makes mistakes too. But in this way, how can God lead humans to success? Now to my main argument. I would like to say I disagree with this motion. Here are my reasons. Firstly, knowing that God is always right gives people confidence and comfort in the following divine teachings, fostering trust and hope. In difficult times, they believe that God can help them correct wrongdoings. For example, if one manufacturer doesn't have the confidence in road building, God can be his model for working hard. Life is full of suffering, loss, and setbacks. Trusting that God is always right can help people find purpose in their pain, and they can persevere through difficulties. They can also believe that everything happens for a reason. Secondly, when people make mistakes or fail, believing that God is always right can help them learn and grow, rather than despair. Trusting that setbacks have meanings can lead them to something better. Seeing life as a journey towards living in accordance with God's rightness inspires them to continue with self-betterment. God can help people to set a motive to believe and trust each other. Thirdly, when God is perfect and all-knowing, they can help humans to live a better life. God can teach us how to build a bridge between mortals and immortals. In conclusion, God can lead humans to success, so I am proud to oppose.
We need to humanize God. I am the third affirmative speaker, and for this debate today I have noticed two major clashes. The first clash being, will humanizing God make people sin less? And the second clash being, if God makes people trust each other, will God make people trust each other? My first clash is the clash about, will humanizing God make people feel better about their own sins? The first negative speaker has stated that by humanizing God, people will sin less, as they believe that if God doesn't sin, I should not sin too. But our first speaker has already clearly stated that by humanizing God, what will happen is people will only feel better about their mistakes, and they will run away from shame for making a mistake. Instead, they'll embrace the mistake and think that if God makes mistakes, sometimes I can also make mistakes, leading to people not thinking about not thinking that their mistake is such a horrible thing. I also rebut the first negative speaker by saying that people sin less, even if God doesn't sin. That is true right now, as in the status quo, most scriptures make God not sin. And see, people are still sinning, such as crimes, stealing, and robbing people. So why in your world would no one sin if God doesn't sin? Isn't that just the status quo right now? We win this clash as our team believes the negative speaker does not fix the problem at hand, that people are sinning. So, in your world, it doesn't fix the problem. So why should we listen to that? My second clash is the clash about if will God being perfect make people trust each other. The second negative speaker stated that if people believe God is perfect, people will trust each other and they will think that all these horrible disasters will pass. But our first speaker stated that humanizing God will make him less intimidating, saying that if God becomes more human-like, people will believe that these disasters sometimes are there just to make things right again. I rebut the first affirmative speaker point as God won't actually make people trust each other more. All that will happen is people will think that they can sin. They they can sin, and that is okay. We win this clash as people one won't believe each other, and that we said that people won't sin outweighs that the people might have this slight chance of trusting each other. Now on to summing up my team's case. Our first speaker stated that people will feel better about their own mistakes or mishaps. He also stated that church will focus less on actually pure worship and more on growth and learning from mistakes, which our team believes is more important than pure worship. Our second speaker stated that humanizing God will make people less intimidating and feel okay about making mistakes. And for the above reasons, I am proud to affirm.
First, I would like to give the rebuttal to the proposition's third speaker. He says that people will feel better from mistakes because gods have mistakes too. But mistakes are usually us to improve, and to let them feel bad. Then we'll know what to improve. If people are still feeling better than from mistakes, then they will not realize that there was a mistake, even if it was a very serious mistake. So then, if people don't know that it was a serious mistake, people will get into trouble or get into bigger and bigger mistakes. Now, move on to my argument. First, if God were not making any mistakes, the world will be perfect. Nobody will be scared or horrified because they know, even though they have mistakes, a person will be in his back and helping him to fix the problem. Second, the God will reward the moral people and punish the sinners. And that means people will be safe and they will be confident because they know if somebody have done bad, a person will help them to punish them. Just think, if you are in the trouble and you are afraid if you're getting it again, and now a person in your back says he will help you, will you feel better? Of course. But if you are making a mistake and a person who you always rely on suddenly say, I will not help you, will you feel very horrible? Of course. And that means if God will make mistakes, you'll feel horrible and scared. Last, yes?
When you
Yes?
say that if God makes mistakes, that you will feel terrible, how is this? But if God makes mistakes and you make a mistake, you'll think that everyone makes mistakes, which will make you actually feel better.
Yes. So as my first argument said, if you saw everyone makes mistake, you thought that mistake is a not very serious problem. So then, if you are really falling into a big trouble, you just think that I don't need to care about it because everybody has troubles. But then maybe it will really lead to serious trouble or problems. Now, move on to my last argument. You said in the proposition side, they said about Well, if others make mistakes, they can learn and to improve. But just remember, in our perfect world, you don't need to have mistakes. You don't need to worry about what you should learn, what you shouldn't do, what you should do, because God, which is perfect, have already prepared for you. You just need to be confident and to trust Him, to rely on Him. So last, I'm very proud to oppose. Thank you.
Said that everyone is same and God should be same too by making mistakes. This is true, but God is the one deciding everything. So he should not make mistakes. So government is wrong. Then opposition said that God is benevolent. This is true. God shouldn't make mistakes due to this. Back to rebut, government said that God is also a living thing. If God is a living like humans, then why is he still living? God is benevolent. He is God. Lastly, opposition said that God will reward good people and punish people doing sins. This is so true. So clearly, opposition wins the debate. I'm really proud to oppose.
At the end of the day, everyone makes mistakes. Even God should make mistakes. This would make him more human-like, less intimidating and frightening. These qualities are not what a good leader needs. Kindness and generosity are key to leadership. Before I begin, I would like to point out some flaws in the opposition's case. The first negative said that the world would be perfect if God made no mistakes. But this is not true, because God's view of perfect may be different from what they are. Besides, furthermore, if God did not make a mistake, then things would be what people would call normal, not perfect, because it's called natural. God is a natural person, and that means that he follows whatever. That means that he will also cause natural disasters and things like that, because that is part of the running of our world. The opposition also said that if God was perfect, people could be more moral and would do less bad things. But this is not true, because first, some people may just not believe in the idea of God. They do not believe that there is someone out there controlling the world. Secondly, people will think if God is so perfect and everything he allows and he does is correct and just, then if I steal something from the grocery store, that is right. Then people will steal even more. Now on to my point. My point is that it makes him seem more human-like and less intimidating. This is true because which means that there's better forms of religion and there's a stronger connection with God, which means in better spirits. And an example of this in other religions is about the Buddha. In part of his existence, he also made mistakes. He struggled to find contentment and happiness. This caused him to learn from his mistakes and fix what he had done. This is what God should be. This should be what God should be doing. So, for the above reasons, I'm proud to affirm.